Hey, Kitsap County. Welcome to Afternoons with Ash Black. I'm your host, Ash Black. Today, we're going to be creating wealth and prosperity in your life through home ownership with my very special guest, Tim Samuels from Cross Country Mortgage. Tim, I'm really excited to have you here. There's a lot we got to talk about in a little bit of time, but it's only fair to talk a little bit about who Tim Samuels is. Your name is brought up a lot in social circles around town. You do a lot for this community. You're obviously the leader of a wonderful team over at Cross Country Mortgage of individuals who are, as I stated, building wealth and prosperity for the members of our community. But it didn't start there. You're actually a Marine.
I am.
Recently married.
I am. 17 days ago.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name's Tim Samuels. I was born in Bremerton. I've lived in Kitsap County, basically my entire life, minus 4 years in the Marine Corps. During that time, I was stationed in California, Virginia, did a rotation over to Japan before coming back home. I'm a graduate of Central Kitsap High School. Go Cougars. After that, it's been time selling cars locally. That was a good experience. It really cut my teeth in sales. Then I've been in the mortgage industry. It's coming on 19 years now. Been with some good companies. Some companies aren't around anymore, unfortunately. But I'm with a solid company right now, and we're doing a lot of good things.
In the Marines, there's a slogan that's used, Semper Fi, always faithful.
Yes.
One thing that I love about you is that, in my mind, and I tried this on a previous intro here, tried to work it in there some way, but always faithful.
Right.
For a man who's always faithful to his family, his community, and his country, it's nice to see the work that you do in this community and to know that, you're Kitsap through and through, and you work for the people of Kitsap. Tell me a little bit about that experience for you to give back to this community.
Well, I'm a local boy, my family's been involved in a lot of, giving back, fundraising, giving beyond yourself. And so I learned that at a young age from my parents. My dad and my mom, I would say it wasn't just him, but they helped co-found Toys for Tots in the area way back in the day. I mean, I can't even remember what year that was. I'd have to check. Probably 1980, 1981, something like that. That's always been a huge favorite charity of mine to help donate to help work at, to help promote, because I think it's so selfless, it goes without saying. Here's a bunch of people who didn't have to do it, but they come together and put a lot of time, a lot of effort, and they sacrifice a lot to give a Christmas to kids they don't even know. And I've always thought that was really awesome.
I was fortunate enough to be privy to a conversation you actually had with the folks that run our local chapter of Toys for Tots. I believe there was, some, talk about the amount of response that you've had in recent years. Could you talk a little bit about that while we're on the subject?
It's crazy. The Selby's do a great job. Jason and Carrie are the ones that they are the forefront of it. They put in more time than anybody else combined, period. There's no disregarding. You can't argue the fact. How many families they've been able to help. I might be totally wrong, but I thought last year was around 2,200 kids just in Kitsap County. Donating to the program, pushing my friends and other people to donate, a little peer pressure, never do anybody any harm, but get them all involved to give to such a great cause. You've got sailors and Marines that donate their time. They're not getting compensated. Everybody's a volunteer. Nobody gets paid by even getting a free toy and walking out. You're there to give, and that's it.
Yeah. So, obviously, we're getting a little off subject with Toys for Tots, but Cross Country Mortgage, and that's really one of the main reasons I brought you out here. You do a lot of work for your team, and you have a series of videos that feature individuals from around the community that you've helped find prosperity with, and I think that's one of the things that drew my attention to what you were doing first. In the language that you use, and it's very clear on your website as well for Cross Country. You're willing to work with a first-time home buyer or a long-term lender to find the solutions that they need to get into ownership.
For sure.
And, one of the things that I guess had never occurred to me was what ownership could mean as far as wealth and prosperity. But that's something that you speak on quite a bit.
We do.
And for somebody like myself, who's kind of a layman to this industry, it was really interesting, to hear you speak on that subject. I feel like you make it very open for individuals to pursue that type of power in their lives. Could you tell me a little bit about what that means?
For sure. Well, we've got to be transparent in the process. We encourage people to ask questions because this is what we do every day. And the average home buyer, they might do this once every 4 to 6 years. So, when they come back into it, let's say their second time, they've gone, I remember doing it this way, or why has the process changed? We've got to be, great explainers about what we're doing, what we're asking for, while we're helping guide people along the path to home ownership. I think it's fun to work with the different groups, different demographics. You've got investors where it's a cut and dry thing. There's no emotion attached to it. It's all numbers, and they have so much mental math going on. It's kind of, for me, it's fun to work with them because I've got investments of my own. So I understand that part. I completely enjoy serving veterans, as a veteran myself, obviously. So I know when I first went to go buy my first home, how the first lender kind of dusted me away and didn't talk to me. That was very, very frustrating, seeing as how I had just completed 4 years in the Marine Corps and thought, hey, I deserve the fact I can buy a home. And I got really ignored. So I ditched them and I found somebody that explained everything to me and asked questions and said, hey, do you really understand this? Or are you just saying yes? And she caught me a couple of times like, no, actually, I don't understand that. What does this mean? And it was really helpful because she took the time to break everything down to where I could understand it because I'd never done it before. And I like serving all the facets of the people that are going to borrow money. And I think, first-time home buyers, they've got a challenge right now with the market. It's not going to get easier either. But I think if somebody gets to the point where they don't want to help first-time home buyers, they should get out of the industry. For me, it's been 19 years. And if I suddenly took on the attitude of I don't want to help that first-time home buyer that has all these crazy questions and they've got a different scenario and all these things going on, then it's time for me to get out. So I look forward to helping those kids. It's important. I can tell them, I can explain to anybody, I look at the wealth I've created and 75% of it is through real estate owned. It's built the wealth, it's built the legacy I can leave to my kids and their kids. So every time somebody says, hey, is it a good time to buy a house? I'm like, yeah, second to yesterday, because that would have been better for you.
Right.
But, get in the market. Don't try and time the market. You time the market by being in the market. So I enjoy helping people. It's nothing better than see somebody, get the keys to the first home. It's great to see somebody do a move up purchase. They had their starter home. They sold that. They might have moved up to something bigger when their family has a bigger need. It's exciting to see. It's fun to see the pictures of people, once they get in there and they're like, hey, here we are, a family and the dog or something like that. Or, you got a single sailor who just moved in and he's like, man, this is going to be great. I'm going to be here. Then later when I move or I transfer, something like that, I can always rent this out and build wealth that way. It's like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. And
what does that mean for you?
For me, it's just, I think it's a way for people to help themselves, because there's no, who wouldn't want just a free handout, but nothing's free. Mm-hmm. So when somebody takes the initiative to better themselves, it's not easy to buy a home. It can be made easier, but at the same time, there's competition in the market. Right now interest rates are higher than what people were used to for a long time. They're not bad, but they're not the super record low that we've had for so long. So you've got a lot of things to overcome, and you want to help guide somebody. You want to make them able to make the best decision possible for their situation. And in some cases, even it could be, hey, it's not right for you to buy right now. And that's okay. But for the majority, I think you got to be pushing for a way to own a piece of real estate, because the average homeowner compared to a renter has a net worth that is 10 times greater than a renter. And it's not by the fact that they were able to save more money and they had disposable income they could just shovel into a savings account, because that's not as easy to do as it is to say. But when you have a home that builds equity and just grows by you living there, and you had to pay an expense to live somewhere, you're going to pay rent or you're going to pay a mortgage. Either way, you're paying.
The money's out the door.
The money's out the door. So are you getting let's say, are you doubling your chance with your money? You pay rent, hey, boom, it's gone. You're not going to deduct that from taxes. You're not going to get the benefit of owing less on the rental home that you're in, but paying a mortgage, there's probably, tax implications that are going to be great for you. And there's also the fact that, hey, that property, let's face it, is likely to go up. I'm no crystal ball to predict what's going to go on, but the fact that we have a shortage and the market conditions say that it's not going to improve means that real estate's probably a really, really good bet for people.
And I think, you highlight an important fact here is that, the value continues to go up.
Mm-hmm.
For that renter. None of that value goes into their pocket.
They get none.
They continue to pay for that property, but they see no return. What would you have to say, to that individual who's sitting at home right now, watching this episode,
right,
and the wheel starts to turn in their head? They start to think about what they've invested in their rental here in Kitsap County, where the prices continue to rise.
Yeah.
What would you say to them about where their mind should be on the subject of ownership?
I would tell them, you owe it to yourself to go through the process and figure out if you can buy something. You could go through and then figure out, look at all your options available and go, you know what? Still no, it doesn't work for me. I don't want to buy. I don't need to buy. It's not the best use of my money. Some people could come out with that conclusion. That's okay. But if they never tried to find out, they never got the options presented to them where they could make that decision, then I just think you're hurting yourself. You're handicapping yourself.
And trying is a point that, I think I would really like to talk about here because, I think for a lot of folks, and for me in particular, that has always been the line of division, right?
Yeah.
It's easier to not try and fail than it is to try and succeed sometimes. Right. But, even when something seems insurmountable, sometimes you just need another person, to help you see the way. And obviously, through our conversations in the past, there's not 100% of people that can be helped in this situation. Sometimes the answer is no, unfortunately, or maybe you have to do a little more work to get the yes that you're looking for. But that's one thing that I like about the work that you do is that not only do you educate your clients on how to get to yes, but that you're not afraid to make the term simple enough for them to understand what they need to do.
Correct.
And, in our conversations or watching your videos, I've paid particular attention to that fact that wealth can be created in the lives of individuals who maybe thought that the answer would be no. But sometimes you need a resource, a valuable resource who can, show you the path. And I think that's something that you guys and your team have been doing over there. And I think that also shows in the success stories of your clients. Why don't you tell me about some of the clients that you've helped here around Kitsap County?
Oh, there's some crazy success stories. There's ones, we helped somebody buy their dream home at auction. This was years ago when foreclosures and short sales were prevalent. We helped them buy their dream home. They completely adore it. It's a log home. It's one of a kind, and we were able to help them. And they've been such a champion of ours. But it was so easy to help them because they chose to believe they could do it. We helped, there's been a couple scenarios where, I'm not to pat myself on the back too much, but there's some scenarios where I think maybe us believing in the client just as much as they wanted it to happen is what made them a homeowner. We had people get turned down multiple times, and we found out, I ran one case, this lady and her mother buying one together using her late husband's VA benefit and different down payment assistance programs and grants. We had 4 different liens to make it happen, 4 loans. And I think we ran the scenario 67 times. It was so much work, but they would not have gotten into a house otherwise. And they've told us that. And they were such believers. They were on board. It was tough to get done, but they were so happy to see the end product. It was wonderful. I've seen, times where we've got people, they got turned down by a different bank maybe, where we call them rescue deals. Those are the most satisfying ones, I'd say, because they're kind of downtrodden. They're like, man, this other lender just turned me down, because when you get turned down by a bank or a mortgage company for a home loan, it's not like you didn't tell people that you were excited and you were buying a house,
Right.
and you've texted your friends and you've put it on Facebook like, we're so excited, here's the house, oh my God, I cannot wait. And then to get turned down because people are going to follow up and go, hey, how's the house? If you had to tell them, well, we couldn't get it because we were denied for a loan, would be heartbreaking. And so when we can get a rescue deal in where they got turned down by somebody else and we can restructure it, look at it a different way, analyze it differently, and put them together and see them through to homeownership is awesome. It's fun. It's braggable rights a little bit too.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, that really feels good to be able to help somebody because they got to look at their kids probably and go, hey, we didn't get the house, that room that you talked about, you've told all your friends. That's devastating. But if they go, hey, it was a little shaky, but we stuck with it and you've got this room. There's the playground across the street. Look at all the friends you're going to have. How amazing would that be?
Yeah.
So those are great experiences.
You come home, you've been serving in the armed forces for the last 4 to 6 years of your life, 10 years career.
Yeah.
And you're getting turned down. That's got to be devistating. And
Devastating. Yeah.
I feel like, the excitement you speak about, is palpable when you're standing in a room with Tim Samuels, because it's true. You do get real excitement out of, helping the members of our armed forces.
Definitely.
And our community at the same time, and the members of our business community as well. Yeah. There's no lack of individuals that I've met that have dealt with you personally that don't just say wonderful things about how you've helped them.
That's awesome to hear.
And, I've seen individuals that now have real wealth and prosperity in their life. What is the steps to that? Because there is definitely a difference between home ownership for living or for, a secondary income.
Yeah.
What steps would you advise a person on today if they were in here asking you about, how they could create that prosperity in their life?
They need to apply. It's not just, hey, I asked a couple questions and a little bit, and I maybe didn't get the easy green light answer initially, but it's to go through the process. It's provide your documentation. We need to look at credit, at income, and at assets. You're going to have your credit pulled in order to do it the right way. If you talk to somebody on the phone and they go, hey, yeah, you look fine, we're okay. No, stop. Provide documentation, go through the process. Somebody's going to pull your credit, analyze your income, look at your assets, and go through the entire underwriting process with you to make sure it's solid, it's concrete. We don't send out pre-approval letters that we don't intend to close a loan on, period. We send out the letter, we're closing that loan. We have guarantees that are backed into it. We have details about that. But there's something about being matter of fact about your business, If we can't help somebody at that time, then we've got to break some bad news and go, look, this is why. This is what is holding you back. This is also how you can fix this and, keep the process moving so you can eventually buy a home. So I would tell people that haven't thought about that or what should I do is to go and make application. It doesn't mean that you're committed to it. It's not like you have a loan period and you didn't get a home. It's nothing that crazy stuff. Please come with all of your questions.
You can only walk away with something.
With knowledge, yeah. Yeah. We're a mortgage bank, by law, we can't collect monies just for an application.
Right.
Like we're going to invest in you by spending, the money it takes us to perform these services, but that's our cost, is what it is. It's cost of doing business.
What kind of first mistakes do you see most often?
Number one would be people giving up too soon. Oh, they want too much paperwork from me. We're gonna want a lot. So don't be confused or have an idea that it's going to be like, oh, I gave them one piece of paper and a bank statement that was 3 months old, and stop. We want to be very crystal clear with your documentation. If we're going to lend someone hundreds of thousands of dollars and trust that they'll pay it back, yeah, our documentation up front is very rigorous. At the same time, it guarantees that we have a good loan, a loan that will be paid back. So we prevent, a mortgage catastrophe like happened in the Great Depression of '08. Nobody wants that to happen again. The industry rules have changed. They've flipped, more than 180 degrees. So now, yeah, it's like going through, like, really, we're going to analyze your income. We're going to make sure, that we can approve you for enough and that you can pay the money back.
Yeah.
Simple concept. It seems silly, but, we have to go through those steps. So we want to make sure that we're doing a very thorough job. So if it seems like it's thorough and it's like, boy, it's really reaching, it's because it is. Should be.
But it's like an exam,
Yeah, it's a study for the
Every
test.
exam
Yeah.
isn't comfortable,
Right,
and
right.
sometimes you have to go through a little discomfort to find the solution.
That's for sure.
But ultimately, you're there for your client. It's not a judgment on their finances or how they pay.
No.
It's to find that solution.
Yeah. I mean, the client is the customer. They need to be, we could put out the options to them and go, hey, here's what they are. And they could be attractive in some way. They could go, well, it still kind of works. Or they could go, boy, I can't make that happen right now. And that's okay. There's no shame. I mean, I'm sure that not every option we give to people is what they want to see. And that's okay. But some people will look at it and they'll go, hey, this works for me. I can make this happen.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a renter. It's huge.
Should people fear the term, the market, or the percentage rates that get thrown around? I mean, I know things have changed in the climate a lot recently in the last 10 years. And we expect to see a lot of change in the next 10 years, I would imagine. What should people know about that? What could you tell somebody who doesn't really know much about that?
I would tell you, the benefit, there is no benefit to wait, because the best time to buy real estate isn't today, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
I look at properties that people have bought, 6 months ago, a year ago, and they're already in a better position. Their interest rate was lower than it is today. Their mortgage payment is more affordable than the rent increase that they were going to get.
Yeah.
They put themselves in a better spot. People that bought, 10 years ago when there was a gluttony of inventory, there was so much to choose from. Well, that was a different market than it is today. There's a lot to choose from. There's a lot to look at. You could make, there were some really great buys compared to today, but they made the move at that time. And you can't, say like, oh, you're lucky you bought 10 years ago. Well, you should go, hey, you scrapped and saved and you made that choice 10 years ago. Good for you. I should do this now. And then 10 years from now, I'll look back and go, man, I'm glad I did it when I did.
Tim, you've been doing a lot of stuff lately. Why don't you tell our audience where we can find you? There's Tim Talks. You do some soirees. Like, where can someone come find out a little bit more about Tim Samuels and building wealth in their life if they wanted to attend one of these events?
Sure. We've got our Tim Talks. We have our Facebook business page. We've got Instagram, which I'll tell you, we're still getting used to. That's a different world. Facebook's a little bit easier, that's for sure. We have happy hours for our clients. We have client events. We've got one coming up where we have 50 of our best clients coming to a Rainiers game. It's a ton of fun. We've got some happy hours that we do, every month. We started a club called Women Who Invest, because what I found is I would have like my buddies roll in if they wanted to buy some investment property. They'd roll in and they were just a mess. But they're like, hey, so I want to buy some properties and make some money. Okay, so then we do all the work with them, show them what to do. Hey, you've got to pay this down. You've got to save more money. You've got to do this. And we put them together. They'd buy a property and they'd make money. But they were just a mess coming in, right? And then I would typically get some women that came in who were immaculately approved. They had all the credit, all the income, all the assets. I mean, time on the job. I mean, you look at this file and you're like, this is awesome. Like, they can do anything they want. And they would have the attitude of, can I buy, another piece of real estate? And you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, you could buy whatever you want. So we put this club together to kind of showcase it. And we still invite men into the group, so it's a lot of fun. We've talked about, we've had a panel of investors, from seasoned agents and flippers to, people that work with short-term rentals to an actual high school principal that we did a loan for, who she bought a short-term rental and is doing really well with it. We had a private money lender come in, kind of where my lending ends, his would begin. We had him come in. We've got an attorney coming in to speak to the group next time about what to do in real estate, what not to do. And it's all to give back and give a lot of knowledge. So we enjoy doing that. The videos and everything we try and do, pretty frequently to educate people. And we like to showcase the local businesses that we've interacted with and done business with, that we really have a liking for. Somebody comes in and they've done a great job handling our clients. We want to elevate them too, so people hear about them. I think that's the best way to refer somebody.
Well, Tim, I really appreciate you coming on the show today and, educating us a little bit about what you do, and
Thank you.
How we can find ourselves in this world. As we all know, living here in Kitsap County, things in regards to ownership change regularly and very quickly. And as Tim has stated, the best time to buy was yesterday, unfortunately. So if you're looking to get into ownership and to take advantage of these types of opportunities in your personal life, that will get you set up to make that a possibility in your life right here in our own beautiful backyard. Thank you again for joining us on Afternoons with Ash. My name is Ash Black. Make sure to check us out on Facebook, Afternoons with Ash Black, right there on Facebook, and on YouTube or wherever else you can find these wonderful BKAT episodes. Thank you.